What's going on, YouTube? So the Hyundai Santa Fe has always been an important product in the Hyundai lineup, especially as Hyundai's lineup has gravitated towards new crossover products. That said, hybrid technology has become increasingly important as gas prices rise, and Hyundai is combating that with this plug-in hybrid Santa Fe. So is this the efficient, spacious, and luxurious family crossover for you, plus a $6,500 tax rebate? Let's go ahead and find out. All right, guys, so we'll start out by talking about the exterior design of this Santa Fe plug-in. Now, you're probably already noticing that the Santa Fe plug-in isn't going to completely change the way the Santa Fe looks. As a matter of fact, there's really almost nothing different about the plug-in version as compared to just the regular gas versions of the Santa Fe, which is certainly a good thing. I also want to mention the different trim levels that you can get this plug-in hybrid in. There are only 2 trim level offerings for the plug-in. The SEL Convenience is going to be your cheapest way to get the plug-in hybrid. And then you have what we have today, which is the limited trim. So let's go ahead and break down some of the design elements about the Santa Fe plug-in. So up here in the front, like I mentioned, this is going to be typical Santa Fe. You're going to have this chrome grille, which is what you're going to get on both trim levels for the plug-in hybrid. Has a really nice finish to it. Also, all the lower area is also going to have that chrome finish to give this a nice and premium look. Then if we turn our attention towards the headlights, there will be some differences here because we are going to have the fancier projector version for the limited trim level. So it's LED projector high and low beams. For the limited trim, the other SEL Convenience model would have reflector. However, they're all going to have the T-shaped LED daytime running light, and fog lamps are no longer offered. Now, I want to preface the rest of the exterior by saying this is going to be a relatively brief look at the Santa Fe because we're going to focus on the driving component of this plug-in hybrid. And we do have a little bit of a time constraint at this event here outside of Nashville, Tennessee. But let's go ahead and talk about the wheel designs. Every plug-in hybrid model is going to get these really nice looking 19-inch contrast alloy wheels. These are going to be the same wheels that you find on a lot of the traditional gas-powered Santa Fe model. I like the overall look. It has a very unique design to it. And that's for both the SEL Convenience and the limited trim level. Also, on both of those trim levels for the plug-in hybrid, you're going to have most of your mirror features. That's, of course, going to include heating as well as blind spot monitoring. The only feature that you're going to add for the limited is the power folding abilities. Now, as far as your overall length for the Santa Fe, of course, that doesn't change for the plug-in hybrid. You're looking at 188.4 inches. It does ride on the same platform as the Kia Sorento, if you didn't already know. I also want to point out you have the chrome surrounds on all of the models. I really like the chrome roof rails up at the top as well. Now, checking out the rear design, once again, it's going to be the same story. The plug-in hybrid is not really going to change the overall design. I honestly think that was a good move from Hyundai. However, there is one difference, and I'll point that out in just a second. We have our rear wiper up here, we have our Hyundai emblem, and then you're going to have your signature full-length LED taillights. That is going to be standard equipment on every hybrid or plug-in hybrid Santa Fe, which I really like that they've included the LED components standard. This is your difference right here, though. This is going to be the only way you can tell you have a plug-in hybrid is you see this badge back here. Then if we drop down, we have our LED turn signal indicator down at the bottom. And then we're not going to have any exposed exhaust outlets, of course, as you would expect out of a plug-in hybrid. However, we're going to still have a 2,000-pound tow rating. Now, for your warranty and safety systems, Hyundai keeps it simple. You got all of the safety systems as standard equipment. And also, I do want to point out, though, if you go for the limited trim, that will throw in the Hyundai hands-free smart park system. Additionally, your warranty is your signature warranty, 10-year powertrain warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile basic warranty, plus 3 years of complimentary maintenance. But with that said, let's go ahead and check out the interior briefly before we take this plug-in hybrid out on the road. All right, guys, let's go ahead and hop inside of this Santa Fe plug-in hybrid's interior. So I think one of the main things to know about this interior is that it does pretty much closely follow what you would get on the traditional model. And I do appreciate that Hyundai doesn't change the design or anything or mess with the equipment too much. We do have the 2 trim levels, like I mentioned on the outside, SEL Convenience and the limited trim level. This is the limited trim level. Let's go ahead and start it up. As you can see, regular Hyundai key fob with the smart parking system as well.
go. Of course, you're not going to hear any engine fire up because it is a plug-in hybrid after all. Now, as a reminder, since the equipment does closely mirror the entire lineup of Santa Fe's, we do have a very detailed Santa Fe breakdown on our channel that you can check out if you want to know, scientifically about each individual feature. But since we're somewhat time limited, I will kind of skip to, the important highlights of the cabin of the Santa Fe today. So first and foremost, right there in front of me, we have this nice digital gauge cluster. As you can see, you have full reconfigurability. This is the typical thing you see on a Hyundai product. Plus, when you go for the limited trim level, you do get the blind view monitor system, which is a pretty cool touch. One thing I do want to mention, you can get a head-up display on the gas-powered calligraphy, but since the plug-in hybrid is not available in calligraphy trim level, that does mean you won't have that feature here on this model. Got the nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. Manually adjusting, it is going to be heated here on the limited, I had calligraphy on my brain. And we also have the extra seat adjustment, so we have a power thigh extension on board with this top end model as well. And ever since the refresh of this Santa Fe, we have a lot of storage here with this reconfigured area. So you still have gigantic center console here. You've got all this space with the extra cup holders, this little area here, which is also a wireless phone charging pad. And then you have the entire pass-through here, which Mason really won't be able to see, but all of this is going to be full open space. Also this shelf right here. So there is no compromising the amount of storage in here by going for the plug-in hybrid. Now, of course, I can't forget to talk about the cabin materials as a whole. The Santa Fe does have a pretty premium cabin with a lot of nice materials. So if you look at the upper dash, all a nice padded plastic through here. All this is going to be covered in a leatherette material with the stitching detail. You'll notice our model does have the brown interior, so I do like that the beautiful brown leather from the seat is reflected up here onto the console, as well as the door trim. Really makes for a nice cohesive and very luxurious look. And since we're talking about the seats themselves, check them out. We have this nice contrast design, black on the outside, brown on the inside, quilting up here at the top. Very, very premium looking overall. I do like the detailing there in the speakers. And then just like with all the other Santa Fe models, you have this console here. Like I said, it floats out. You've got a faux carbon fiber that runs through it. And then on the top end models, we've got the nice leather that runs through there. So overall, very nicely done on this. In terms of the door trim features over here, we're looking at one-touch auto up and down for the driver and passenger window only. We do have the two-person memory seating with the limited trim level as well. And let's start to kind of look over here at some of the features that we see on this console, because really, as you can tell, most of the stuff inside this cabin is going to be located right here in this area. So you do have your electronic shifter, Just like with other Hyundai products, you're just going to press the D for drive. When we go into reverse, this is where you'll be greeted with a either traditional backup camera or a 360 camera. So the 360 camera, as you might expect, is on just the limited trim level. So with this model, we've got the active trajectory, the overhead view. We can switch some different views over here as well, and resolution looks pretty nice. P is going to be for park. Just like with all the other all-wheel drive versions of the Santa Fe, you do still keep the drive modes, which is a nice touch. I am noticing, though, one additional button that's not on the regular one, and that's that we can switch EV and hybrid mode. So we can lock this into just running on pure electric until the battery is completely depleted, or we can choose to go into a hybrid mode, which will make it, use that range to the maximum potential, and make it spread out. So if you're really hard on the throttle, it will go ahead and turn the gas engine on instead of burning up a bunch of range. Underneath of that, standard 3-stage heated seats on all versions of the plug-in hybrid Santa Fe, and seat ventilation here with this top-end limited model. And as we move on up here, we do have a 10.25-inch display with the limited model, an 8-inch display on your SEL convenience model. This is the typical system that you've come to expect. As you could tell, you have built-in navigation system. We have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It is wired with the big screen, wireless with the smaller screen, and then you have some dedicated gauge systems and stuff where you can monitor your energy flow and whatnot. As you can see right now, it looks like we got 8 miles of EV range and 42%. As we move on up, auto-dimming mirror, home-link universal remote, and to wrap up this front of cabin, we have a full panoramic sunroof with the limited trim level. Now, I won't speak too long about the back seat because it is exactly the same. We're not having any limitations for going with a plug-in hybrid with a larger battery back here. Still just about 42 inches of rear legroom, plenty behind my 5'8" driving position, and the same bevy of features all throughout the cabin, including lots of plugs and USB ports, rear vents on the fully loaded model, even heated rear seats and the manual sunshade, so you have a very well-appointed back seat for sure. And in case you're wondering, what do we have in the back here? Is this compromised? Where did those batteries go? Well, they did not actually take up any space back here either, so I'm very happy to report that. Still 72.1 cubic feet of space as a maximum once we fold down the seats. So you have tons of utility back here for pretty much whatever your needs are going to be. The seats do still fold 60-40 split as well, and you can press those buttons right there to electronically make that happen, and you have the 12-volt outlet as well. And as you can see, I believe in the gas-powered one, you do have a little bit of storage back here underneath of this. That's the only thing I'm noticing that is a little bit different, but otherwise you have exactly the same cargo capacity, which is very good. Alright guys, so we're just taking off here with this Santa Fe plug-in hybrid. So, you know, if you're new to the plug-in hybrid setup, what is different from a regular hybrid? Well, the main thing is a larger battery pack. So you have 13.8 kilowatt hour battery pack. So obviously that is going to give you a substantial boost in range. Hybrids are meant to just drive around, you know, briefly on electric power at very, very low speeds. But once you're, you know, going fast, they're usually on the engine. But with a plug-in hybrid, you can actually go your entire commute on battery power. In this case, you're going to have 30 miles of pure electric power. So that's the most important two pieces of information when we're talking about the plug-in hybrid model.
Yeah, and I think that is, you know, one of the things that they were emphasizing, and I also very much agree with, is the average commute for people is normally around 30 to 40 miles. So maybe if your average commute is 30, 40 miles, you could be fully operating on EV power, maybe just a few miles on gas, which is certainly a huge benefit. Now, as far as what actually comprises this powertrain, of course you do have an engine as well. It's a 1.6 liter turbo i4. Then you have your electric motor plus your battery pack. Altogether, you're looking at 261 horsepower for this plug-in hybrid model. It's worth noting that's 35 more horsepower. It's 35 more horsepower than the regular hybrid Santa Fe. So, of course, there is a regular hybrid version as well, but this is the plug-in. That's up a cliff.
Doing a little bit of mountain climbing there. So there is a button. You can lock it into EV only. I have pushed that button because I did want to show you guys kind of an acceleration under just the electric power. But our range is too low. The people in front of us used up a little bit too much of it. So it is still going on to the gas power in the case of basically an emergency, going up a mountain at full throttle.
Yeah.
But it's been under full EV power since we got up to the top of that hill, and it's staying in it the vast majority of time until it's going to deplete the final 6 miles of range that we have today on this example. Now you've got two other driving modes. You have the automatic, which is going to allow it to make those decisions automatically, like I said, lock it into EV, or you can also lock it into running like a traditional hybrid version of this car. And in that case, it's going to, you know, be using mostly the gas power giving you the ability to perhaps save your full EV power for when you get into town or something like that. Just giving you your ability to control the vehicle in the ways that you want it to. And I do also want to mention the other aspects of the powertrain. So you have a 6-speed automatic transmission, just like you do with the hybrid version. That, of course, is pretty unique. Most of the time, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, always come with a continuously variable transmission. And in this case, it is very nice to have a traditional 6-speed automatic. It gives you that feel that most people are used to and most people prefer. None of the droniness or anything like that. And it's going to be paired with standard H-Track all-wheel drive. So you don't have to pay extra for that. You're going to have that standard, but the system is intelligent enough to be able to decouple and use it as most efficiently as possible.
Right.
And of course, one of the big benefits I really like is the fact that being on full electric power, even at high speeds like this, you don't have any engine sound at all. So in terms of how quiet it is here in the cabin, it sounds very, very nice. Now, we don't have our equipment with us to get that official measurement, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But I can tell you, you're looking at the same Santa Fe, which is already a very quiet vehicle,
Right.
minus the engine noise. So make of that what you will, but very, very quiet is the takeaway.
Yeah, of course. And I also want to mention your ride quality as well. So the ride quality in the Santa Fe is absolutely awesome. It's unchanged from any other version of the Santa Fe. You already know that we love how this model rides. It just does such a good job. The seats are extremely comfortable. It soaks up the bumps. I mean, some of the roads we were on just a little bit ago were extremely rough. We had some giant potholes, and it just does a great, great job. It has an overall very luxurious experience, especially here in this limited trim level. Now, I also want to talk about your efficiency and go back to a few different electric components. So if you run it exclusively in hybrid mode, you're going to be looking at 33 mpg combined as your rating. If you want the MPGe figure, you're looking at 76, and that, of course, is including some of that electrification with that 13.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, which does make this a very efficient SUV. Now, it is also time for us to do our signature airball and slam dunk for the Santa Fe PHEV. We're not too far from home, actually. We're only one state over from Kentucky, so we got to keep our signature element going. I'll kick us off with the slam dunk of just this model really doesn't change anything with the Santa Fe formula, which I think is an awesome thing. You still have the same amount of space in the back, same leg room. I mean, really the outside has changed nothing. It's just a badge. And I think a lot of Santa Fe buyers are going to want that. They don't want anything weird looking or anything impeding in their cargo space, and I love that they've been able to incorporate that big battery pack without changing the packaging.
Now, on the airball side of things, you have heard us mention several times in this video, it's only available in 2 trim levels, and the base trim level SEL Convenience, while very well equipped, does mean it starts out at a pretty pricey price point. So we would like to see Hyundai expand the plug-in hybrid technology to lower trims, all of the trims perhaps, maybe even like an XRT or something, just kind of give everybody the ability to pick which powertrain matches their lifestyle the best.
Right. And that's a great segue into the pricing information for this PHEV Santa Fe. We're looking at a base price of $40,000 even for the SEL Convenience model. If you want the limited like what we have today, we're looking at $46,010. Now, it's very important to mention here, and you also heard at the introduction of this video, you do have a tax credit because this is a plug-in hybrid. So we're looking at a $6,500 federal tax credit. You're not eligible for the full $7,500, but $6,500 of it you are eligible for, which that is a significant thing to factor in when you're looking at this. So this $46,000 limited model, if the tax situation, shows itself in your particular situation, you're looking at maybe about a $40,000 price tag for the limited PHEV equivalently, which is not even much more than the hybrid or the gas-powered model. So really something to consider here for the plug-in hybrid model.
And it should be noted, even after you hit 0 miles, which we have, it does still run as a hybrid model, so that does mean you can go under EV power when you're at low speeds or low load, like on the highway, like we just were.
Yeah. And one last thing to mention here before we conclude, I want to show this off because our car specifically today is reading 57 mpg is our average, and that started out fresh today. So the people that used the full battery capacity, I assume it was fully charged up, we were getting 60 miles a gallon. So that's a really impressive element.
But to conclude here, I think this is a pretty impressive package. We were expecting we would like this. We like the regular Santa Fe, and that's basically exactly the takeaway that I think you guys should get from this. This is a Santa Fe with all of its traditional strong suits, but plus having that additional power, efficiency, 30 miles of full electric range. So that's a thumbs up.